Hey there, how's it going? Welcome to another Elden Ring build video. This time we're going to take a look at one of the most unique Ashawars introduced in the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, as well as make a fun, effective, and great looking build surrounding it. This is the Poison Harpy build centered around the new Ashawar, the Poison Flower blooms twice. Poison Flower Blooms Twice skill has the player perform a dive kick attack that inflicts Scarlet Rot buildup. When used normally, it's nothing special, but if the enemy is already inflicted with poison or Scarlet Rot, the skill deals a tremendous amount of damage while removing the status effect afterwards. Therefore, the playstyle of this build is to proc poison or rot on the enemy, and then decimate them using the Ashawar. Since poison is the easier of the two to proc, we'll be focusing on it in this build. The Poison Flower Blooms Twice skill also solves an issue that has hindered poison builds to be inferior to bleed builds. Both bleed and poison builds has their respective gear to boost attack power after proccing the status effects. However, since poison takes a long time to take down and it's impossible to proc poison on an already poisoned enemy, the uptime of the attack power boost is only a fraction of that of the bleed proccing build. The Poison Flower Blooms Twice skill mitigates that issue by removing poison status from the enemy. This allows us to regain the attack power buffs as frequently as we want while doing a truckload of damage in between. Now I know the Poison Moth Flight Ashawar pretty much does the same thing, but trust me, it's not as good. It doesn't do enough damage, and it lacks style. This Ashawar is dropped by a Teardrop Scarab in the route base. From the ravine north side of Grace, head south to cross a tiny river and jump up towards the ruins, and you'll find it beside a small puddle. Give it a good whack and you'll drop the skill. The skill costs 14 FP per cast, and it provides the poison affinity to the weapon. It can be used on all melee weapons, so there are no weapon restrictions for the skill. The skill has 2 hitboxes, one from the dive kick itself, and another from the Scarlet Rot plume upon landing. You must hit the dive kick in order to deal massive damage. Fortunately, if the dive kick does not connect, the Scarlet Rot plume won't remove the status effects, so you can just try again. Due to the skill's poison affinity, it naturally scales off of Arcane. So for this build, our main stat will be Arcane and our dump stat will be Intelligence. Therefore, starting Hero or Prophet will yield the best results, but it really doesn't matter. Since our main stat is Arcane, we'll be using the Occult Infinity, which means we need a weapon that naturally causes poison buildup. A weapon with low stat requirements will be best, so we can focus all of our points into Arcane. With those criteria in mind, I've selected the Venomous Fang to be our main weapon for this build. With 80 Arcane, a plus 25 Occult Venomous Fang has a whopping 149 poison buildup, making it able to proc poison on any enemy within 2 to 3 light attacks. And since it's a fast attacking claw weapon, you're looking at poison procs within a few seconds. On top of that, it also procs Deadly Poison, which deals higher damage per tick than regular poison, and it has attacks that deal pierce damage. If you're not familiar with pierce attacks, it's the only type of attack with a counter attack property, which deals 30% extra damage when the enemy is in the middle of an attack animation. However, like I said before, feel free to use any weapon you're comfortable with, since the Poison Flower Blooms Twice Ashawar has no weapon restrictions. Now that our Poison Harpy has her claws, it's time for the rest of the set. Since poison builds are practically parallel to bleed builds, we'll be using the Mushroom Crown headpiece and the Kindred of Rot Exaltation Talisman for the 10% and 20% attack power boost respectively for 20 seconds after proccing poison or rot. These attack buffs are the ones I mentioned earlier on. With the Poison Flower Blooms Twice skill, we can easily have the combined 30% attack power boost on all the time. For the rest of the talismans, we'll use the Shard of Alexander for 15% extra skill damage, the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia to increase damage after successive attacks, and lastly, the new Shattered Stone Talisman from the DLC for 10% extra damage to kicking and stomping skills. We can also make use of the Spear Talisman since both the Venomous Fang and the Poison Flower Blooms Twice skill deals pierce damage. For the chest piece, we'll use the Gravebird's Black Quill armor. Not only does it fit our bird theme by giving our Harpy her wings, it also grants 10% extra damage to jump attacks, which is fantastic since Venomous Fang has a great jumping attack. For gloves, we'll go with the Rakshasa Gauntlet for the 2% extra damage, nothing exciting here. And finally, for legs, we'll be using the Divine Bird Warrior Greaves. Not only does it complete our Harpy drip, giving us our talons, it also boosts kicks by 5%. If you're hesitant on whether these bonuses to kicks and stomps actually work on the Poison Flower Blooms Twice skill, don't worry, I've tested them thoroughly on the poor gate front soldiers and they do in fact work. In our offhand, we have the Poison Hand for 7.5% damage boost for 20 seconds after proccing Poison or Rot. Together with the Mushroom Crown and the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation Talisman, that is a whopping 37.5% extra damage every time we proc Poison, which is all the time. The Poison Hand is also a decent weapon since it has the same moveset as the Star Fist and deals the same amount of stance damage. However, we can't change the Ash of War on it, so after proccing Poison we have to swap back to the Venomous Fang in order to use the Poison Flower Blooms Twice skill. To cast buffs and incantations, we'll use the Dragon Communion Seal, which has the highest incantation scaling thanks to our high arcane. With just 26 faith, we can fully utilize top tier incantations such as Ancient Dragon's Lightning Strike, Dragon Claw, Dragon Maw, Dragon Ice, Pest Threads, and the new Pest Thread Spears. For Physics Flash, we'll be using the Bloodsucking tier and the Thorny Crack tier for maximum damage. If you think the HP drain is too much, just take the Bloodsucking tier off and replace it with something else. Now that we're fully geared, let's take a look at the stat distribution of the build. For rune level 150 with Prophet as our starting class, we have 60 Vigor, 20 Mind, 15 Endurance, 26 Faith, and 80 Arcane, with Strength, Dex, and Intelligence at their base values. For rune level 150 plus, you can put points into Faith if you want access to more incantations, more Mind and Endurance for comfort of use, or Strength and Dex if you decide to use a different weapon or just to boost your overall attack rating. And yeah, that's everything for this build. This is an extremely fun build that is quite strong but definitely not overpowered. So don't worry about it getting nerfed. At least, I don't think it will. If you want something that's super OP, check out my Thorn Sorcerer build. It was really fun to put this build together and the drip surrounding it. I think it looks fantastic and every piece of the armor synergizes nicely with the build. The range of the claws can be harsh to get used to, so feel free to use other weapons. I recommend the Bloodfiend's Arm, aka the Chicken Leg with Poison Affinity, since it also kinda ties into the bird theme of the build. Not really? Anyways, I hope you give the build a try and let me know your thoughts and feedback in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.